Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Bang did a lot of damage on the Ezreal, as you might expect, but it wasn't enough to get them a victory. SKT do fall to the might of KT Rolster here in game number 1. It's very rough stuff for them. They found one slight reprieve when they took down Deft, but then KT, they committed to the Baron. SKT could do nothing, and it all fell apart from there.
It did seem like the game plan with Untara and Blank hadn't really changed since the last time we saw them in the lineup, and the argument for Blank wasn't made either. So substitutions are something available to both teams. I had to see what happens here. I did allude to, I believe there is going to be a KT sub from what we were told, so I'm sure people are getting very excited at how kind that change might be to KT.
It could be a very kind change.
This game was very kind to the damage meter coming through from Ezreal, but the Ezreal pick has been overlooked a lot this season, and in the last week or so of 8.4, other people preferred the Tristana that was available. MVP here was a bit of a head scratcher because it was a team performance by KT Rolster, and it goes the way of Smeb.
Yep, comes out on top of this one, 1-0-3 with the Gnar. Had some solid setups here throughout, and some interesting plays as well. He and Yukal barely surviving at the back end of the one fight, and then Yukal recommitting, but we'll ignore that part for now.
And with a MVP for a shot caller, there should be some value in what Smeb brings to the team, because he has been announced as a primary shot caller in 2018, 2017. Mata, Score, and other members were rolling in. Smeb was a voice, but now he's known as the primary voice. One of the reasons that he was running on the Olaf, running on the Maokai in the early season, just to give him more time to shot call. It started off smart from Yukal, and then the blasting cone turned around his plans. We're not going to show that censored on LCK1. This is a really nice team fight. Smeb around the side, and people say, well, why did FLICKR turn onto him? Consider how big the Gnar play would have been if he was not shut down. Sadly, that meant that Blank was isolated. No real good news stories there for the side of SKT. They run down, they're taken out. It's only the first game of the series, and KT have not beaten SKT 2-0 in a series with this roster. Was 2-1 the first time in the first round robin. Still a chance for KT Rolster in control almost the entire way through.
Well, you can see there, Smeb feeling pretty good, but there is that fateful music. You already hinted at it. We were talking about it in the chat. That was the sound of a substitution coming through. As we go ahead and take a look at the player change. They're really building this one up.
Yukal will not be playing game 2. Had a very good series in that one. Hey, there could be 2 changes, Kilios. But Yukal had a good series with the Weave as well as in the end. I think in the fight they lost, his positioning was a little bit off, and then of course went full solo queue, taking the blast plan and being surprised that SKT went for the grouped recall. So Pawn is back in the lineup.
Sorry, gang. Score is still here to stay.
Turns out the Score is probably going to play all of the games.
He played a pretty decent Olaf, and yeah, it seems like he's just still pretty good in the jungle.
I think if they're in with a run to first place, which they still are, of course, before that's mathematically gone, seems like they don't want to mess with a winning formula. FLICKR will now have to take on an opponent that he has traditionally had a pretty big lead on, at least in 2017 and 2018. Even in the series victory for KT, FLICKR had control of mid lane there. So see what it means as we roll into game 2. Backs against the wall for SK Telecom T1 in a must-win series. They're not mathematically out if they lose, but they're further games behind the top 5.
Pressure just gets heavier and heavier from there, and you say, KT, they don't want to mess with the winning formula. SKT not messing with the losing formula, still going to be the same roster starting here for these guys.
I mean, look at Coma. What is the winning formula for this team? They've tried so many different things. Wolf played in the damn jungle. That happened this season. That wasn't my dream.
Effort in the jungle.
It could happen. Effort's just gone.
They can use some effort in the jungle.
That's not a very nice thing to say. They need something different, for sure. I want to see this Olaf. Give me the blank Olaf is what I want. It's an old pick for him. He's able to play it. The reason why he originally started over Bengi was his Nidalee. Way back when, in 2016. They need to show us something. Stand up and be counted, SK Telecom T1. Otherwise, KT Rolster will continue their charge to that big match a week from today. In this exact time slot, in 1 week, it will be KT Rolster versus Kingzone, increasingly looking like a top 2 clash.
Well, we were talking about maybe the first pick Olaf was going to be there, but game 1, they go for the Ryze that was available for FLICKR. Olaf slips through their grasp and Score, well, he can just invade really without any worry.
Guys are wondering, there was a request for extra time to set up. Pawn is actually one of our more methodical players with his setup.
His ruler, bringing that one in.
We're not talking about KSV.
Yeah,
but,
not the KSV player.
Taking the inspiration from StarCraft pros with that particular approach, so he needs that little bit of extra time. So granted to them, get them comfortable for what could be a fiery one. Game 2, see if Home is going to change up the formula. A lot of people on social media criticizing their draft in Game 1. I think it was more of the play style and not being able to turn on 2 items after having given away so much early that really counted against them. So there was certainly a way to win with that draft. Just felt like they gave away the maximum in the early game. A couple of mid-game fights go their way, only one. If it was second to third, certainly could have been a victory for SKT, but KT deserving winners in Game 1.
Yeah. Definitely odd selection to go for the blind pick on the Cho'Gath when the Gnar was available. That was, I think, maybe the wonkiest thing as far as the draft
I think he was just ultra scared of being Jaced. Jace was available, and the last time these two teams faced, it was the Jace against the size of Tal on the lineup that day. So, you know, you are kind of out of good news when you're on the blue side having to blind pick a top laner against Smeb or Khan. Both of them can go full lane, and while it wasn't full lane, it was enough for Untara to, sadly, for the side of SKT, be a non-factor one more time. But good news, I see some coaches in the booth.
Yep, they are ready to go. See what these guys have put together here for the second games. KT swapping over to the blue side. Does have that higher win rate here in the LCK so far. 8.4 maybe could change things as we go down the line. This early in still seems to be pretty dominant, but here we go. KT, first ban's going to be the Ezreal.
Interesting first ban. I don't know what that says for the draft, because Ezreal priority has been an all-time low. It's been much more about banning away Caitlyn this week. It's been a really big ban in some games. We'll see Varus banned very frequently. KT going to ultra pinch bang in this particular first round. They're going to slow down. No flex pick red side Scions. I mentioned this yesterday. To me, Scion is now a blue side ban because you get super tilted with a first round Scion on the red side, because till the last pick, he can be support, mid lane, or top lane, and that is very frustrating to have to draft against.
Well, they can go ahead and nip that in the bud and take it out. SKT thinking about the second ban to follow up. Off the backside of the Galio, we've been seeing a lot of Azir from Pawn. See if that's going to maybe eat a ban as we go further into this, but for now it's going to be the Xayah, so another ADC taken off the board. No Caitlyn yet. Lista's still on the table as well.
Feels like Rakan is kind of in purgatory every time Xayah's banned, because Kalista Rakan won't be seeing as much play with the tone down of Kalista, and KT is saying, well, we're happy with the first pick Varus. Are we going to get to pick it? This is what SKT is going to have to deal with. Feels like Caitlyn going to be in an interesting spot this draft. So we finally see Bang jump onto the Caitlyn. If you look at his match history this season, the Ezreal, the Sivir has kind of been his pocket pick, but that was at the start of the season and wasn't doing a lot of winning. So it's trying to get to the lower tier AD carries. Kog'Maw an outside chance, of course, after the rebuff on patch 8.4.
And W got back up there for the later game.
So Azir and Ryze can be considered here, or the Varus first pick. Varus, to me, is the one that KT will want to go on. It gives them offensive options. It opens up the support pool, because you have a Varus plus an initiator, and suddenly headaches arise very early. So KT will prize the Varus. Very interested to see what SKT's AD carry choice is in response.
Ezreal, despite the loss, was still a siege cannon basically there by Bang, just constantly firing out those mystic shots, and very much so topping the damage charts at the end of it all. But
Ryze did most of the good work in Game 1. The Realm Warps were smart. He was definitely not the core reason for a loss in that game. A very flexible champion, so I like to see the Ryze. And you mentioned that Pawn has been liking the Azir. In lane against FLICKR, he's had a lot of fluffs, let's say, in the laning phase. So taking a winning matchup for FLICKR and giving away the Azir is probably not going to be a big concern for him. The Ryze more reliable a champion to give over to Pawn. And the Sejuani is what they stick with. And to me, that is the biggest surprise, because Blank was such a non-factor in how Game 1's early game was played out. Is a takeaway from Score, who is very, very strong on the Skarner, on the Sejuani, but Skarner's on the mine because it is available, even if it's struggled in this exact matchup a couple of times. But they just go Olaf.
Yeah, go for the Olaf. Still very odd to go for that Sejuani when the Varus has been locked in. The Olaf to just get on top of him with the Ragnarok seems just So tempting to try to pick that one up, but the Azir will come through here for pawn, so we'll just be sticking through with that pick.
Just feels like KT have lane priority bot side and invading jungler, and while it is to some degree a losing matchup mid lane, it's not necessarily going to be a massive one. There are going to be windows where you can have some lane control. Oh boy, it's back. The ultra delay champion has reared its ugly head. We're going to see a Sivir on patch 8.4. For the first time, we wondered where Bang would go. He doesn't play the Caitlyn with any frequency in his career. He goes away from it again. It's definitely going to be a lot of wave clear, but suddenly you have a losing bot lane matchup and the Sejuani who already struggled. And this is where the doubts about Koma's read on the meta come from, is that when it comes to early pressure, it's pretty hard to salvage with 2 picks what SKT have already dropped.
Fortunate thing for us is that the Sivir and the Azir are on different teams, not going to be on the same one, so none of those nice 90-plus minute long delays inside the base to try to hold out. Going to the second round of bans here, and Nara's going to be taken off the board, and the Cho'Gath as well by KT.
SKT are in an awkward spot in the second round because either they blind the support and then have a counter pick support come through from KT, or they blind pick the top lane and get the same problem they had in the previous game. So it's a bit struggle here to actually find something, to find a winning combination. One of the reasons I'm not a big fan of first round Sivir especially. But a lot of the top laners that are seen as blind picks are being banned away, the Gnar taken away. The Ornn is going to jump up in priority if you want something safe. The Fiora taken out as well. So KT saying they want to play a tank.
Showing some respect there for the pick.
The Fiora ban is saying, hey, if you last pick, you can't have Fiora into whatever tank I'm forced to blind pick because, damn, I'm on blue side. Feels bad.
I mean, it could just be a Maokai here maybe for Smeb for the most lockdown.
This is where you take support, but now it is going to be the Sivir and the Tahm Kench. Maybe double unsealed spellbook going to come back, an 8.1 strategy to try to abuse what is going to be a tricky laning phase, whatever KT choose, and going to go ultra standard with the Braum, almost certainly being a big pick for Mata. 10th game on the Braum this season.
Block out the ricochets and the boomerang blades, so might be a good pickup here. I'm really not interested in seeing Sivir until we get the pizza delivery Sivir scan.
Yeah.
That's when I'm okay with Sivir being back in the meta, but for now I'm a little about it. But Braum will be the lock-in here for Mata.
I'm all about that second Birdman to join the
Camille.
Azir, and it's going to be Camille and the top side, and that's a blind pick that has lane priority and also a sign of why the Fiora was banned. That is a skill matchup tilting towards the Fiora. So suddenly, they could have gone tank, they could have gone carry. This is still fine for Untara, who showed good mastery of the Jax versus Camille matchup already. But doing it against some top laners and doing it against Smeb is very often a different proposition. They will go for the Jax, so they were ready for the Camille to be open. But this is very interesting, because if you consider how the lanes are looking, top side has a lot of options unless the ganks start to come through, as Camille is able to abuse Comet. And Jax doesn't have the same rune to trade early. The mid lane, Ryze is going to be in a good spot, but not necessarily pushing into an Azir, who is frustrating for anyone to deal with. And bot lane is winning. Olaf is going to have another one of those games where he can start invading, and how they can actually set up the defense on the side of SKT is once again going to be the story, because largely they're on the back foot once more.
We'll see. Do you expect to see maybe a very early gank over to that top side to try to take out Untara on this Jax? Fast clear from the Olaf. He's going to have sustaining the jungle, has the smite as well to keep himself healthy. Do we see a red buff take immediately gank top?
I don't think so, but I do think we're going to see Olaf invade around level 4, and the Camille are going to be in first position to invade with hookshot to guarantee a kill. There is going to be a lot of pressure thrown in. If there's going to be an early gank topside, my bet is on blank on the Sejuani, but probably going to be just left to its own devices because Jax is pretty self-sufficient in the early game if the ganks don't come through. But SK Telecom T1, they are not going to be playing like they did with Blossom, with initiators everywhere, with ultra aggression. They're with blank again. He's been preferred on the day. And that means they're going to be going for the scaling, but KT Rolster looking to close this telecom war very early.
Yeah, looking very strong there in game number 1. A 2-0 for these guys would be such a turnaround. See if SKT can, in fact, take us to a game number 3, or if KT Rolster will just shut them down here in game number 2. Let's load in for it. SKT backs against the wall. Can they push back against KT, or will they get shut down? Alliance still hanging in there. We're pretty much full up at capacity here at the Soli Stadium.
Always love the fan signs here. Some very creative stuff on both sides of the rift. Some global fans as well.
Yeah. Actually, have quite a bit of them. As that guy enjoys what looked like a pretzel.
It's pretty impressive to get tickets for the telecom war. This is definitely
really
the
is.
sells out in less than a minute situation.
I mean, pretty much any of the even slightly hyped games sell out pretty fast.
Especially if SK Telecom is involved,
Yes.
because the draw of FLICKR is a global one. Late invade coming through from KT. They have the Braum, so of course can be a bit more frisky, and they dealt with the one-man invade from Bang the previous game.
Pushing in. So stacking up the concussive blows here onto Blank. We'll go ahead and get that stun in. They force out the smite.
That does mean that Olaf is going to be in a great position to open up his options. No offensive wards come through from SKT. A lot more defensive in their setup this game. Damage taken numbers always going to be higher for a Cho'Gath than a Gnar, not the most interesting. And we mentioned being able to abuse a rune. A Comet there is the keystone that Smeb's going to find a lot of value on early. The tactical sweep into the poke that Smeb is uniquely going to be able to do. Plop goes the Comet.
That added little bit in. Counter-Strike will connect. As these guys are just going to be dancing back and forth. Bang. Nice DPM. But unfortunately was not enough. His damage percentage is insane, though. 49%.
A lot of that was poke damage. It wasn't really too much outs to write home about in that first game.
It was only 5 kills for SKT at the end, so 5 to 7, I believe. So it was very tight-knit as far as that was concerned.
Minion Dematerializer on both supports. Hasn't necessarily been held on to. We're not seeing the EULCS meta where you'd have Trundles with the Minion Dematerializer, hold on to them for comically long. Been a lot more freely used, although FLICKR is one of the few mid laners that's held back a couple, just in case.
Blank going to be spotted out. Go ahead, knock down that zombie ward.
Scorer once again seems to be the full clear. Fun thing about things like this is that we'll be able to see if the full clear will always be the way he goes in future, as Smeb turned around that trade.
Yeah, Untara missing the counter-strike costs him quite a bit, so Smeb gets that extra bit of damage in and forces out that final corrupting potion charge.
When we talk about things, this week we've been kind of redefining terms, like Battle Ward was something we talked about yesterday. Pathing Jungler is another one that is used very frequently, and about Score in particular is known as a Pathing Jungler. You think of Cacao in Season 4 as a Pathing Jungler. The fact that 2 games in a row he's gone for a full clear of his jungle is the sort of thing that in a future game, an enemy can look at Score and say, alright, well, I'm just going to show up as Krugs and kill him. It's going to be low health. Going for the full clear, and you know the exact timer. Score has been one of the best junglers at both reading that about enemy junglers and varying up his pathing from series to series. No substitutes in this game, so no Blossom coming in to scout out his pathing from game 1. Bit of a different scenario. But it's always fun to track, especially junglers like Olaf that can become predictable in the pathing.
Well, right now Score works his way up towards the top side. I believe he was spotted out.
I think he was spotted as he came up.
Yeah, I think
the ward timed out.
Yeah, one that did die. He's pushing in. Darso playing quite far forward. He'll go ahead and take the jump over. That still takes a good amount of damage there. Score will eat a turret shot, but he'll happily trade that out to just get a little bit more damage in onto the Jax.
Gets his eye in on the axes as well. That could be a lot more consequential later on. Again, this was a matchup that Untara looked really good on a couple of series ago. But against stiff opposition today, the Jax versus Camille work is not going to be binary, that's for sure. As the game goes on, the lane gets a little bit kind of for burst trades for Smeb, but the all-in from the Jax, his general stickiness is something that can be difficult to work with. He's gone for Relic Shield on the first back for a bit of Bandit Gold, and Bandit Klepto to do his best Gangplank impression.
Tries to get that exchange yet again. Smeb does make his way out of there with that hook shot, though.
Smeb doesn't like bone plating, apparently. No resolve tree for him this series.
Oh, here comes Score, pushing in, gets the E down onto FLICKR, slows him up with the axe. Look at the slow in, his pawn goes forward, looking for the kill onto FLICKR. A couple more hits would have gotten him, but it could not finish him off in the end. But that's going to be both summoners down here for FLICKR now.
A couple of patches ago also probably would have been the kill with all the damage nerfs to both the soldier damage and the Q damage on the Azir.
I should have bought that Doran's ring instead of the dagger.
We have been having coaches interviews at OGN recently. We had them yesterday. Would love to hear from Coma and understand some of the drafting choices, because I think people very rightly talk about the drafting in this game and this series being kind of eerily reminiscent of the 8.1, 8.2 comps that weren't working for SKT. And with Blank in the lineup, the question is Blank there because they chose to include him, or because maybe Blossom, after going down 2 days ago, needed some time to work on his mindset? We don't have any information to that. This is not me wondering something I know the answer to, but there's multiple reasons for a player not to be playing. And with Blank in the lineup, it's no surprise they're going passive. Blank has largely been this much more defensive jungler subbed in to take advantage of Vision, subbed in after the aggressive jungler in Peanut had already done his thing. So it's a very different scenario here. And SKT go back to early season, and on a patch that doesn't fit them, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that those things together aren't going to set them up well for patch 8.4.
Yep, double spellbook coming through with the TPs as SKT rejoins the bottom side of the map. Like Smeb, just a couple minutes ago there, was looking frisky. Thought maybe he was going to try to go in for the 1v2 since Blank had not hit level 6 yet, but thinks better of it. Wants to play this one out safely. He's got quite the lead going for him so far. Wants to play this nice and consistent.
Control wards KT on the top side. No Tracker's Knife for Blank is also going to be an indirect nerf for the Ambitions and the Blanks of the world that aren't known for the battle warding. I appreciate the way Trick took the change, as he's another jungler who's largely on the defensive side, and his Kha'Zix was the big highlight and the reason that BBQ almost took down Game 1 yesterday. So risky.
And then Ruler happened.
Yeah, late game Ruler was the big thing there, but very, very risky going for a tank jungler in this matter with Olaf's running around. As, speaking of Olaf, he wants a red buff.
He's going to be pushing in here, looks for it. Azir here to join in. He'll check the brush, but that's going to be
slightly too late.
Through. Yeah, just a couple seconds off from potentially taking that one away.
And this is what we were talking about. It was a good read by Blank, because what did we say in the champ select? Camille will push up around the time that Olaf wants to invade. Camille was by far going to have first rotation. She's now very deep down the lane, and her hookshot's on cooldown.
Smeb taking a lot of damage, tries to get the slow there with the tactical sweep.
He might be dead.
Tara goes in, flash away. Tara will go ahead and pick up the minions instead. Got to be feeling pretty good about getting that flash out of the Camille.
First read by Smeb was the team thing. He needed to be pushed up so he could rotate, but by the time Olaf left, he kind of needed to take the defensive side as well. So, very well read by Untara, playing to the lane smartly. Smeb goes back, and it's when he doesn't have his teleport, so it's going to be a bit of gold generated here. Good moment in the early game for Untara after Game 1 just being on the defensive end and just absorbing pressure from the Gnar.
Allows him to claw back in some of the CS. Still will be at a discrepancy, but not nearly as large of one as before.
Smeb instantly with the Tiamat says we're pushing. Wants to allow himself to be a pressure valve for the Olaf. Top side is definitely going to be the playhouse. Double control ward, the Tiamat on the Camille, and the Azir largely being able to push in or at least regulate FLICKR. It's a good matchup for the Ryze, but otherwise, news. As we knew this lane was going to be a struggle.
Well, they're going to go ahead and spot out Blank on the control ward now. He's going to charge for it. Tosses out the ult, gets the lockdown there on the bottom, but they're looking for Deft. He'll make his way out of there. Glacial Fissure comes down. Now the Realm Warp in from FLICKR. Meanwhile, up top, Untara, he's going to be getting ganked, and he is going to go down. First blood, handed over to Smeb. Tactical sweep over the wall, goes ahead and takes out Untara.
Blast plant back in there. I believe that was done by Score, but couldn't tell. I think flash auto on the blast plant to deny the escape. We'll need a replay to fully understand that. But bot lane, FLICKR's roam, got a range on the Realm Warp early. Couldn't actually find anything. We're going to get the replay of the top side. Untara's got a level advantage. That's why he's feeling this. But in comes Predator Olaf. That's what this was all about. And for the very early start. All right, he flashes in. Let's watch this play. Nope, it was actually Untara with the misjudge. Didn't have a lot of time. Was going to be rushed. Went for the first auto. The first auto doesn't work. Unfortunate for the side of SKT, but good baiting coming in from the Camille.
Not great, but that's going to be an Abyssal Voyage here. Deft, quite far forward. Tongue Lash comes in, and he is just going to get popped. Great turn there from SK Telecom, and now Mata trying to run out of here. Might be able to make it out with his life, but SKT, they could just turn over and take this Infernal Drake, perhaps.
And that was just taking advantage of Deft's overstaying with his summoners on cooldown. We knew they were on cooldown. They knew the ultimate was on cooldown. Very good play when it comes to the Abyssal Voyage, and at least SKT are trading sides of the map compared to Game 1, where they were surrendering all of the map in the early game.
Yep, so no dragon here for KT to start off the game. Infernal over to SK Telecom. Gonna be a nice little prize on top of that kill on the Deft. So 1-1, and them winning the objective game here for now. Old lead only very slightly in the hands of KT, so things going much smoother for SK Telecom so far in game 2.
All in is what the bot lane is about, because range discrepancy and Varus' general laning strength posed a lot of problems in the early game. Score has been topside, so it was a good read, good return game gank by Blank and friends on the bot side. See if Smeb can take this small lead and snowball it into more. As we mentioned, he's largely been pushing to set up his jungler rather than necessarily looking for solo kills. Very hard to bait out the counter-strike and actually get your full rotation off as a Camille.
He's been doing a good job of using the hook shot to deny it. Won't get stunned up, but creates that distance. So unless a leap strike is available, then Untara can't really trade much else. So we're waiting here in the mid lane for now. I believe he was spotted though. So FLICKR gonna stay safe for now as Squirt comes into the river, finds Blank. Won't get spotted out by that ward.
Shots the axe. He's trying to fight for largely scuttle control here, because scuttle control topside is very relevant for the side of KT. Once again, FLICKR investing his time to the scuttles. That was a really nice
good
turnaround.
trade there by Smeb. A lot of damage in, but can't go all in as he sees Blank and FLICKR both sitting in the river. Realm Warp is available.
That would have been a solo kill if not for the incoming pressure of FLICKR and Blank.
Really good force back there, keeping Untara now underneath that turret.
Definitely moments like that remind you that Smeb can run away with a lane, even if that hasn't been his playstyle over the course of 2018. A lot more on the defensive side of things.
Turns out he still has the ability to dominate a lane.
You don't forget. You don't forget how to be a carry. To me, it's kind of a you are, you aren't situation.
But a little bit rough for Cube this time around.
Was he ever truly a hard carry player? I know he's played carry champion.
He's had some excellent moments with the Camille, and you look at him this season, and it's a little lackluster by comparison. But the whole team overall has kind of been slipping.
I think people, when it comes to Cube, kind of overrate World's performance, because he's been fantastic at Worlds, and that's something to compliment. But in the LCK, he's largely been a tank player. He had some carry performances on Gnar. At times, he can make things happen, but in general, he's been much more of a role player, and he seems to be a bit more meta-dependent on whether he can be a carry compared to other top laners.
Just looking for the exchange here. Bang not going to be eating anything with the shield, so just takes a bit of damage there from Deft. Keeping up a nice little 12 CS lead here at the moment for the Sivir.
Summoner still down on the Varus, so he has to be very defensive in the lane, and it's bought a lot of time in the bot side. We mentioned that we were liking a lot of what this opened up for the Olaf, but Sejuani has been able to play bot side and find advantages. KT stalled in the bot lane, so Sivir's getting a free lane.
Take a look at this, Smeb dodges out that yet again, but very far forward is Deft. Nice body block there from Mana. Does eat up the Sedge ult, but Deft still might go down. Gets locked in. Heal comes through to try to keep himself alive. Doesn't have the flash, but doesn't even matter. The Sejuani will go down, and now up top, Smeb gets the hook shot, gets the solo kill onto Untara. And just like that, on opposite sides of the map, KT strike, and they come up with kills.
And Untara doesn't even draw a flash out of Smeb. He felt like he needed to interrupt, but the teleport was honestly more of a bait than necessarily anything involving the bot lane. They'd already gotten the kill. They're looking for more as well. KT finally turn on this game, but no interrupt.
Yeah. Realm Warp coming in, but Score's like, damn, I can't do anything to stop you. Just gets a little bit of damage off the backside of that Realm Warp, but FLICKR makes it out alive. But we'll go ahead and take another look at this. Mana
is a
beautiful body
in
block.
This fight. The flash, the stand beside me, they didn't even have flash up.
Good God.
Super good work. He actually exhausts Blank for the lifesteal there. Smeb is full health. The read from Untara is, I have to interrupt. But he's been outplayed a couple of times by the hookshot and just smashed down. And the top side didn't require ult or flash from Smeb, and that's a straight up outplay from the top laner.
He just got dunked right there. So 2 more kills going over to KT. Cold lead, it's still not significant. It's not a huge lead here for KT, but if they can keep the ball rolling, get that momentum behind them, then maybe they can swing this into a Game 2 win. Close out this telecom series very quickly.
Didn't mention it, but triple unsealed spellbook for SKT to try to make the Sivir bot lane work to get through what's a difficult laning phase against Deft as they're looking for the catch.
Yeah, that's going to be the flash in. X-Tech Ultimate comes down here on a Blank TP, now going to be coming through from the bottom side of the map, but Blank is still going to be long dead. Pawn finds the kill. Claiming one for himself as Smeb looks for the lockdown there onto Untara. Can't get it in time. No blank on the map. Another pick off there for KT.
Really decisive as well. It was level 11 for Smeb, so extra duration on the ultimatum rather than the only 4-second duration at level 1. Allowed the Olaf to gap close. They'd love to increase the pace of the game by taking a turret, but that's not to happen now. An Ocean Dragon at 16 minutes, a decent prize. Not quite an Infernal, but an extension of a good passage of play by KT Rolster.
Yeah, good snag that, and with the pressure that Smeb has here in the top lane, maybe even just transition into something like the Rift Herald yet again. Hopefully this time for KT's sake, not a leash for SK Telecom to take it away.
I must admit, something that was just on screen that we haven't been able to talk about. I really love watching Camille versus Jax. It's a very fluid matchup because every time you see Smeb hookshot into the wall, there's that half second where he calculates where the game is, what is the game set, am I going in or out? And so far, he's been on point every time.
Yeah.
He had to use his flash to guarantee the kill on the enemy Sejuani, so it's likely going to be disengaged most of the time. But hookshot is usually a pretty mindless ability. If it's jungle, it's max first, it's used for ganking. If it's top lane, it's usually just for the all-in. I like to see that extra half second of thought and the potential always for the outplay.
He's diversifying the role for sure in the top lane. Smeb playing that one to a T at the moment, has gotten that lead back in under his control. 20 CS up here now as he keeps building up these items. Got the Tiamat, the Sheen, and the Phage ready to go, so Trinity Force going to be on the way.
It's going to be Trinity Force Tiamat versus just a Trinity Force soon, so it's going to be just a gold loaded on.
The advantage.
Scores bot lane, but that's optimistic.
Pushes his way down there. Piercing Arrow does connect there on the Bang, takes a decent little chunk as Blank pushes in from the side, but not able to take him down. Smeb yet again goes in, gets the stun before the counter-strike can even be completed.
I want to take the Ocean bot side here, SKT, because KT are pretty weak on this area of the map. They don't have a lot of control, and Azir just shops. So great timing by SKT. This should be theirs.
Score looking for the axe, tosses it in. Not quite, but it was damn close. The Blank does have the smite at the end of the day.
Yeah, dangerously close, I would say, in that one. Smeb's going to find Untara with a nice shot. Coming in with the Trinity Force, so probably going to have a bit of pause there. FLICKR seems to have spent most of his game kind of just trying to tend to the top side and set up a Scuttle Crab or cancel vision from a control ward. Been more common than Roam's bot lane, trying to relieve pressure from Untara.
I'm thinking back through my history of playing this game, and I think I probably have more steals on objectives as an Olaf than any other champion. So it does happen from time to time.
That's taking a losing trade here.
It takes a lot of damage.
Not really sure why.
Trades it back decently, I suppose, at the end there with the hail of arrows, as we see. Score going to get locked up. He's holding on to the Ragnarok. Trying to get a little bit of damage there on a Blank. Knocks him down to about half HP.
Score's a man after my own heart because he just does not ever ult defensively if he doesn't have to. He's happy to take extra stuns before he truly chooses to go in. My biggest kind of pet peeve is the defensive Shen ultimates. Oh,
well, he's just going to go ahead and face check on Tara. Stun comes in. That's going to be the Ragnarok a bit defensively. But, yeah, that W comes in and Tara smacks him down.
That was a nice brush camp. FLICKR prepped that one earlier, making sure there was no control ward there, and they get the kill. So Score completely gets the drop on by the Jax. Very nicely done by SKT.
Oh,
and SKT is looking to pile onto bot side, but FLICKR does disengage.
It does peel back. TP now coming in on the hunt, going to get popped. Smeb comes through, hook shots away. It seems like they'll just go ahead and abandon the fight. So this is actually going to open up Untara to maybe take this turret in top.
Yeah, he completed the teleport after all, even with summoners up in bot lane, and this is going to be a great macro moment for SKT. It's absolutely is going to be free after all. So
wow.
KT Rolster can't make the big engage happen even with the ultimatum available. And SK Telecom T1 take their first gold lead of the game.
That's every objective now slipping through the fingers here of KT. Both Drakes over to SK Telecom and now losing out on that first turret. SKT have the gold lead, only 1,000 up in 20 minutes. But do have those extra bits of stats coming through from the Infernal Drake that aren't going to translate into that gold lead exactly. So in a good spot right now is SK Telecom. KT, they keep wanting to advance the pace of the game, but they're actually just slipping further behind.
Not massively so, and of course the gold lead just to go one way. You do worry if you're KT Rolster that the Sivir has been able to lane so freely against the Varus. Normally Varus super dominant, but the flash going down early really halted there from being in advance. Still going to be more damage from the Varus at this point compared to 2-item Sivir, but we all know about 3-item breakpoints on Essence Reaver AD carries. A lot of the power is around Smeb, but Smeb loses turret first because of the botched teleport, game is very finely poised compared to game 1, where at this point SKT had already lost 3 turrets. They've kept up all of theirs. And I guess the unsaid thing is the fact that Pawn has spent the entire time farming. He's going to be roamed on because it is Ryze versus Azir. But 2 items finished on the Azir. The old build in true, but Jax continues to move. This is a teleport to the side lane. Second turret claimed by Untara. They're being taken out in the solo kill. Untara does get 2 turrets. It's solo goal.
Yeah. Untara just, you know, kind of just playing that 0 damage Tryndamere style. Just go in, just get the turrets, just push those down. Avoid Smeb at all costs, and he's got the faster rotation. Smeb late to react, can't clear out the wave, can't get there. So another objective over to SKT as they stretch this lead a bit further.
Real lack of proactivity through mid is being exploited. One bad teleport has snowballed now a 1,700 gold lead for SKT, and Drakes were also the reward of hard work in the early game around bot side after largely Score had played top side. So no more playing in the enemy jungle, or the Olaf team setting the pace of the game. Olaf here much more of a passenger, only 1.5 camps ahead of his opposing jungler, and SKT actually controlling momentum at 22 minutes.
Great spot. KT now trying to control the jungle here on their side of the map. Push forward with the sweepers, and they'll get rid of some of that vision. Already, those 2 turrets now being taken. Almost 1,500 gold here for SK Telecom, so still very close for KT, but another Infernal Drake on the way. If SKT are able to get that late game damage from that Sivir and Ryze, especially with the Jax on top of it, they have 3 very big damage dealers on this squad. They can rip apart the members of KT.
I mean, it's a high damage game in general. So 3 big carries on the side of KT as well. So it's definitely the potential for deletion. Smeb showing a lot of respect on the bot side because he didn't really have any vision in the bot jungle to go for aggressive trades against the Jax, who comes back with the Titanic Hydra. Ravenous, what we see on the Camille most recently. Doesn't have the information just yet about the Titanic. Titanic a bit more prized on the Jax because of his lack of AoE wave clear, but they're going to be matching items. So apart from the boots change, very, very similar builds, and the extra gold generation from Klepto and the Targons, starting to catch up to the early kill gold that Smeb was able to pick up.
Well, we're just 25 seconds away from this dragon. SKT, some vision right in front of the pit, as well as inside the jungle around the red buff of KT. So they will spawn anyone coming around. We'll even go ahead and use that scrying plant. Realm Warp coming through as they look for Smeb. We'll get locked down underneath the turret, but just takes the 1 overload there from FLICKR. Otherwise,
notice that FLICKR is now out of position. He has Ghost Flash, no teleport. Turn things around, but actually looking for the collapse on Deft. He's alone.
Oh yeah, he's just going to go ahead and have the flash over the wall. In the meantime, FLICKR going to get locked down by the Hextech ultimatum, and Smeb finds the kill. So FLICKR, like you said, out of position. The collapse comes through a bit faster there from KT than they can get on top of Deft, and now they're looking for Untara. Hook shot in, gets the stun, tactical sweep for the slow up. Counter-Strike goes in, gets the stun there onto Smeb, and he'll flash the wall, but Smeb is actually pursuing.
Hook
they
shot.
don't have the ult.
Oh!
Gets the hook shot in the middle of the leap strike. Untara gets denied, gets taken down. Smeb with a delayed double kill. 200 IQ play comes through, and KT maybe looking at a mid-turret, if not the Infernal Dragon as well.
Crossed my mind as well. Love the prediction on the hook shot. They're going to get mid-lane turret for this, and Infernal as well. Huge outplay a second time in the 1v1. As SKT just about keep their mid lane turret up. They will not take the Infernal though. That's KT's.
Great deny coming through there. Beautifully done by Smeb. Infernal Drake goes over to KT, matching the 1 of SK Telecom. And they have whittled away at that mid tier 1 turret. So just a couple more hits.
And Deft puts up his hand and says calculated off screen when he was just all alone. Same thing about FLICKR though. They were patrolling bot side trying to make something happen. Jax says, sorry guys, can't help you with that one. Ends up with the Ryze going down, so everyone was flanking each other and 2 people were heavily out of position. Ultimatum is always going to win in those scenarios. Bot lane turret goes down, and oh boy, do we have a finely poised game. SKT maybe behind 4 kills, but there's almost no gold in the game. The Infernals are matched. I'm ready for an explosive team fight, because you're going to have to call it fast, Achilles. People do damage here. They are not tanky.
Calling it fast. That's what I'm here for.
Doing the rap god today. I appreciate it.
We'll try to get in there. That's why I had my coffee today, so I can talk extra fast, get that nice speed going.
100 gold lead or so for the Klepto.
but oh, for the Cleft. I was going to say for the team, but you know, we do have that prep on the mid turret as well. So if KT can knock that down, equalize the turret count, they will find themselves in a very slight gold lead.
Yeah, just mostly looking through the rolls as to where the gold is. Bit of gold for Olaf. Varus behind, but has a cheaper build to get relevant.
Blank, going to have to use the assault to get himself over the wall. Vision going to get cleared out as Smeb yet again finds Untara here. And he's going to have to get the hell out of here. Hook shot coming through. He's got the counter strike. Will be able to stun up Smeb.
Oh, he goes in.
Over the wall, comes in with the ultimatum. Untara's locked in. Emperor's Divide pushes him over the wall, straight into the welcoming arms of Deft, and he scoops up the kill.
Man, the ultimatum, level 16. No one's getting out from that one. Able to gap close, and that was all he needed to do. Now going to see KT patrol. They want Baron from this play, but they might have to settle with just a mid lane turret and Baron control.
Smeb just knows every time Untara wants to go for the leap strike, he's got the chase ready, whether it's canceling it or following him over the wall with that ultimatum. Smeb is reading him like a children's book.
But the best thing is how we're watching it. We're seeing him always reevaluate. It feels like we're playing rock, paper, scissors. And Smeb has the spoilers. He always knows which way you're going to go. Does he have the whole cam if you're playing poker? He always seems to have the extra read onto Untara, who's trying to cosplay, trying to roleplay as a carry champion, as the Jax. Not his normal play style. And it's being read like a book, like you say, by Smeb.
A children's book.
That's your words, not mine.
4 words per page. Boldly written. There was a moment for Untara. The split pushing coming through, that was excellently done by him. But when it comes down to the actual fights, Smeb is just that far ahead of him. 4-0-2 now as we'll see a Realm Warp coming in.
Okay.
Score.
Score doesn't have flash, that's why they're making this play.
He does have the Ragnarok here to try to not get locked up. Go ahead, try to get sped up now. Smeb joining in. They lock down Wolf, take him down to about half HP, but he still has the shield ready to go. Now they're piling in, looking for Mata. Glacial Fisher comes down, gets a pop up here onto the Tahm Kench. They're going to try to turn it around. Ultimatum comes in, pops the shield, but it doesn't matter. The Trinity Force Brock comes down, and Smeb finds the kill. Now SKT maybe looking for the re-engage. Several members of KT going low, but Untara over the front line. He gets locked down, and Pawn finds the kill. KT feeling reinvigorated, push right back in, and maybe now they can go looking for something like the Baron.
Mata is such a god. The way he controlled that engage from SKT. He was basically doing the Smeb thing, but on 5 members of SKT. Allowed the full disengage, and eventually SKT realized too late they were fighting on all of Azir's AoE damage. They're setting up for the Baron. Streamer Shuffle misses. That's a pawn maneuver right there.
Pawn looking for that one, but against FLICKR, not going to happen. Goes ahead, keeps himself safe with the flash.
Well, that's where Yukar comes in, because he does get the scoops on those ultimates a bit more than Pawn. Watch this. So Olaf's out of position, usually up, but watch Mata in this fight. He comes in, controls space, uses the lock at the same time, flashes. It's just beautiful. He blocks 3 people. He's doing this at a bar. No one's happy. Everyone's very unhappy about Mata's play in this particular case. And then eventually, SKT are like, wait, we can go in. You're fighting on the Azir, the Sand Soldiers. Do the rest of the work. Beautiful stuff by KT.
I mean, they were just cutting him back through the choke. The Unbreakable covers the whole thing. No one can get damage into the back line. Wonderfully done there by Mata. SKT receiving the maximum punishment. This was just a few kills apart. Now it's 9-2. Still only a few thousand gold, however.
You know what the best thing is about Mata? There's a lot of best things. You know what the best thing
plenty of good things about Mata.
He sees the meta and he's like, oh, Banner of Command's cool. I'm going to go Righteous Glory, and now I'm going to go Lock It because I'm a fighter. He's not about those minions. No minions needed.
Screw
no Baron.
This slow push, Baron, minion nonsense.
He's about the fast. He's all about the fast and loose in the team fights, and he has been a treat to watch, even though Braum is very rarely someone that we talk about in team fights.
Well, Control Ward getting cleared out, threatening SKT with the unknown. No scrying trinkets available here. Try to drop those blue wards in.
Smeb's going the deletion build, working on Hysteric's Gauge. After already picking up the Titanic Hydra, those are matched, but the extra gold of 503 Smeb. Threatening to push KT over the edge here. Look at this new item coming through from FLICKR. He has a Spellbind.
Yes, he does.
First time we've seen that in pro play.
100 stacks ready to go. He's ready to activate.
All about a window of power, same time that you're machine gunning. KT already on the Baron. SKT slow to check it, 6,000 health.
Yeah, don't even have the Azir on this, so it is going to be a little bit slower, but still whittle it down to about half HP. They'll peel off. Smeb coming in, gets the lockdown here for Untara. Hextech ultimatum comes through. Go ahead, get devoured by the Tahm. Kench. They spin him out on the backside of the fight as Blank barely escapes, but Wolf can't do the same. He gets taken down. With Blank being as low as he is, going for this Baron. might just be a suicide mission for him.
Warmog's healing. You're right, it does seem like a one-way trip, but they're able to walk up. Let's see how KT actually interrupts.
He's already up to 60% here. It's going low. Blank, does he go for it? No, too late, and even shorts the charge there.
They don't have vision. They didn't have a control ward to put over. That's why KT finished it. They were smart. Understood there was no way to check. That's why the teleport came in, trying to find a way to actually get a control ward into the pit. It doesn't happen. And SKT's only consolation is a Mountain Drake. Definitely not a like-for-like with the Baron.
I can't tell if he was actually going for it there or not, but the Arctic Assault into the wall, definitely not a good look for him regardless. Smeb will go ahead and knock down that turret there in the top lane. SKT are able to claim their third dragon, a mountain for them, but basically the Elder Drake is going to have to be their win condition from this point forward, and they have to minimize the losses from this Baron-empowered KT.
The Bannon is incoming. KT Bannon. When we actually see it, it actually could be a KT versus SKT Baron buff, or at least command minion setup here, as the Banner of Command is available on Wolf. See if they're using the same lanes, or if they try to play side lanes. Smeb is very far ahead now, basically up about 2,000 gold's worth of Steric's gauge over the enemy. Wolf uses his Banner in the top lane. I think we're seeing a dogpile on the mid lane. They're trying to force SKT to react.
Go ahead and start whittling away at the turret here as FLICKR and Blank poke in from the side.
Jax does not have his teleport, and Smeb does, so this is a losing lane assignment for KT. They're not going to take the bluff.
Great split push going on there as Smeb just keeps moving up the wave here into the bottom side. Any alone time with this turret, and he'll be able to take it. It's already knocked down considerably, and the rest of KT seems like they might be cheating over to that side of the map. Untara trying to catch the wave. Plays it for just a second there, but Smeb, that damage is insane. 5-0-4 on this Camille.
The Smeb things hasn't been the Smeb of 2018 season, but no one doubted he could turn it on when he needed to. KT Bannon is pushing through. Let's call it something. Let's call it Monty. Why not? Let's throw out a random name.
All right. They have the full Monty going on right now with this minion empowered by Baron. Monty gets jumped on, and Untara comes around from the backside, gets the stun there with the counter strike, but has to flash out. Sand Soldier's over the wall with the ultimatum, and Untara will yet again go down for, I believe, the 6th time in this game. He is over half of the deaths on SK Telecom.
Monty can't break the base, but KT can.
Yep, they're going to go ahead, lead Monty in for the victory. Inhibitor coming through. Well, in his memory, I suppose. They'll go in for the victory. Monty, in real life, would also be happy about a KT victory, you'd have to say, over SK Telecom. So it plays out in multiple facets. But yeah, 1-6-0 on that Jax there for Untara. Inhibitor now taken. KT Rolster, 33.5 minutes into this game, have broken it wide open.
And KT Rolster in the regular season of the LCK, which started in 2015 spring, have never done the double over SKT. This would be the first time if they were able to win both. Famously won none in 2017. Even in other tournaments weren't able to pick up the victory over the side of SKT. Looking to do the double. Is this a sign of the times for SKT? The game is not over. There is 3.5 items on the Sivir, but all the play and all the playmaking is with Smeb and KT Rolster.
Good start for SK Telecom, but KT, they're just faster on the play. The outskill from Smeb over Untara, punishing this Jax and keeping him locked down is just not been working out here for SK Telecom. Almost 50 CS down, behind in items, just has 2 completed. FLICKR will make it out with his life.
That goes against the recent trend. He has been caught shopping many times, but this time he...
I mean, at least it wasn't a redemption kill.
That's true. There's always better things, I guess.
Yeah. And you're looking at, not even really 2.5 items on Untara to 4 completed items for Smeb.
It escalated quickly when he went for the 3rd and 4th outplay, and here's another Bannon.
You also take a look at the vision score there as Monty Jr. comes in.
Different names. A Junior will have to do.
You can call this one Doa.
No, that's the SKT one.
Yeah, I know. The Monty Jr. pushing in. No Baron, though. But here we go. All comes down. They get the lockdown on Namada yet again, but it's not the target that they want. They want to go ahead. They want to get somebody like Deft and force out the Guardian Angel. Devour helps keep them alive on the side of SKT, so they can keep defending for now. But they still have these super creeps to be answered in the mid lane. Smeb is escorting them forward into the Nexus turrets.
KT push up. They should break the base here. Blank already used ultimate. There's no threat from SKT.
Smeb Tame's the going in, but he just goes ahead and backs right back out. Mono the Unbreakable still gets chunked down to about half HP as they take down the turret. Untara taking a bit of damage there from the Sand Soldiers.
A lot of damage, even with the AoE reduction on the Counter-Strike. So there'll be plenty of damage from Azir.
Puts himself in there, Deft now firing away, looking for the second inhibitor, and should be able to take this one unhindered. He's more just threatening up into the front lines here. Says you don't have any ultimates to really toss out, and even if you did, I'd be here to body block with the Ragnarok. They take that down. Inhibitor going to be down for a while, and it's just under 2 minutes until that Baron comes back up.
Achilles, I sat there in the offseason when it was clear that SKT had finished their transfer business, and I said, I don't think this roster is going to be going far in Worlds. It's not going to be an all-conquering roster because they can only play one style. They don't have a lot of carry players. Games like this are the reminder, Achilles. Untara is going to be second to Smeb, even if he drafts a skill matchup. He's drafted it before and not being able to do it. I couldn't have known about Untara and Blossom did fit the bill as a carry-minded player, but is very young from the jungle. And this is just the reality, is that they weren't set up to succeed in every meta. This meta requires aggression, requires the ability to have multiple carries. They don't have them, and unfortunately for them, if they're returning to the Sivir, if they're returning to Blank and Untara without significant changes, it does seem like SKT are a foot off the pace on patch 8.4.
I mean, you talk about them going far in Worlds right now. I guess the biggest concern is them getting to Worlds. This could be the first time that they don't go to Worlds since 2014.
And I don't say that I'm a complete prophet. I couldn't have known the level of struggles, but with SKT, you're rating them on whether they win the World Championships or not. It's the sort of pass-fail that teams dream of. And for SKT, it does seem like it's a fail, whatever the result of this series is.
Yeah. Just be the ultimate curse, I suppose. Worlds comes back to Korea, and SKT maybe don't make it. Still plenty of time, obviously. This
and
is
a summer season.
This is just a what-if situation.
I'm excited to see Blossom
line,
with an entire off-season of practice.
He needs, there's some tempering that needs to be done with him to get that restrained play coming in.
SKT can't be restrained. They have to start something, and now they're against Elder.
Yeah, Elder Drake, only going to be the one buff coming through, but it is going to be Empowered Infernal. They lock down here onto Blank, and he is going to get blown up. Glacial Fissure does fine. Bang, and Deft flashes forward, absolutely destroys him. His score joins in the fray. The E comes in, and he'll claim a double kill as he shatters the bot lane of SKT. You can see there, Bang, looking a bit flustered.
He very rarely shows emotion. He knows they might just lose in this one passage of play. Only Jax and Ryze to defend. Long death time is 40 seconds. I think it's over. I think KT have done the double for the first time.
Unless FLICKR can do something, but he's getting locked down, gets the force on the flash, and Tara comes in, tries to get the counter-strike. They scoop FLICKR back up this time. Pawn says, you don't get away again. Your flash is down. I'm going to punish it, and Tara is stuck inside the fountain. Not a damn thing that he can do to stop this. And KT Rolster shut down SK Telecom 2-0 in the telecom war.
And for the first time in an entire round, double round robin, SKT's fans are silenced. Here comes the high fives. Here comes KT Rolster gallivanting forward. They do look like a contender to a team like Kingzone Dragon X. And unfortunately for SKT, they are only now with an outside chance at playoffs. It's not over, but Achilles being largely 2 series behind the other competitors means the scariest thing for SKT fans is it's no longer in their hands. They need losses from Rock Tigers. They need losses from KSV. And even though KSV similarly didn't seem set up for success on patch 8.4, SKT will have to hope that this week is an aberration. They go down 0-4 in the week. Predictably, Smeb held onto his hook shot. He read the book. He was wonderful in this game. Would be a well-deserving MVP. Mata also a monster. Yeah. Both of them just too good. And SKT don't have the troops on the field to answer. And whether that's because of selection or because of construction, I go with the latter. I say that SKT don't have the players to go far over the course of multiple metas, which is exactly how Riot has always set up their games. It never stays the same. For SKT, it's always been winning. They're getting used to this feeling. They go 6-8 on the season, their worst season ever, regardless of how the rest of the games go.
Absolutely brutal. KT, gotta be feeling good about that. Shutting them down with a 2-0, winning both telecom wars of the spring split. And I'm sure they're already looking forward to summer so they can try to do it again. But KT's true test is not over yet. A week from today, they square off against the #1 team in Korea, Kingzone Dragon X, next Thursday in our second matchup. that is going to be the true test for who is going to be in the final, if not just winning it.
And it almost feels like a telecom war of yore because, remember, KT was smashed by Kingzone. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But there is that performances like today where you think maybe KT can do it. With SKT, those feelings are more rooted in history than in reality, especially when Blank is playing. They have not been able to perform. Untara Blank is not a configuration that is going to win SK Telecom LCK Spring. It might not even get them to playoffs. Smeb in this game was just beautiful. Look at the damage down here. Tripled the damage, which isn't necessarily the only indicator, but if we get a highlight reel, the highlights will do all the talking.
I mean, tripled the damage. You have, as well, Mata dealing more damage than the Sejuani at the end of the day. It was just really well done here by KT. And Bang, yet again, doing his damnedest, pumping out the damage with the Sivir, but it's just that chip damage coming through. He's not getting the assassinations, the finishing kills, the finishing blows, rather, that SKT needed in order to get ahead.
He's also playing Sivir on patch 8.4, and while that feels like dogpiling, I just don't feel like this is the champion that actually is going to take things over the edge. It feels out of meta. Where's the Caitlyn that would have given them some lane control? Your MVP will be Smeb. Whew. I put my hand up for Mata just because I was struck by his brilliance in some of those team fights.
I joined you on that
Smeb
one.
had the highlights going. He was outrageously good.
I mean, the predictions on the leap strikes kind of set him over the edge here. And the turnarounds, this is the start. Untara just a little bit too overzealous,
this is definitely
ready.
not a Smeb highlight. This was good bait.
Also not an Untara highlight
No,
either.
I mean, there aren't many of those, sadly, Achilles.
Poor judgment.
This is the second time he's played Jax versus the Camille. He didn't play versus Khan's Camille or Keen's Camille necessarily. He certainly did not play against Smeb's Camille. It's not even a big pick for Smeb historically, but he was able to really make it work in this particular game. Every ultimatum turned to gold. This one onto FLICKR for that old storyline of who was the best in 2016. It proved to be FLICKR on that day, on this day. It was all about Smeb, as Untara's counter-strikes should be the clean answer to Camille. Smeb was, so look at this prediction. Beautiful stuff.
Wonderful.
Runs like that aren't always fit for broadcast, but that one was on point.
Yeah, that one was definitely warranted. And then the follow over the wall. I mean, Smeb, you know, we see those times from some Camille players here in the LCK every now and then when they throw down those ultimatums in desperation because they are hoping to maybe get out of that alive. But every time Smeb uses the ultimatum, to quote the Rorschach, it's "I'm not locked in here with you. You are locked in here with me." Takes them down, and it's just beautiful play.
I like the word you used, desperation, because there wasn't really any desperation from KT Rolster at all. This is supposed to be 90 minutes a game. This is supposed to be a blood fight, a blood sport between the Telecom Wars teams, a war that has gone on for the better part of 13 years.
Yeah.
And yet KT were comfortably ahead. It looked like 2nd versus 6th. It looked like a top team versus a team struggling to make it to playoffs. And every one of these highlights shows you that KT, after some good moves by SKT early, were just too strong in the 5v5.
It was a bloodbath. It was just a very one-sided one, 15-2. At the end of that game, KT came out swinging after a bit of a slow start, but they got it in the end. But now it's time to hear from our MVP. So we're going to toss over to Joel for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview translation for the exclusive Telecom War. We're bringing here today, and we have kind of the unexpected result of seeing KT Rolster picking up a win in a 2-0 fashion against the SK Telecom. We're going to hear from the only MVP and also the coach for the interview. Smeb, a fiery win for you guys in the series. How do you feel? This is my first time receiving MVP in the OGN Studio right now, and it feels great. And coach, we haven't seen you on broadcast for quite a while. Yeah, it's a really long time that I was actually in front of a camera today. I think all of our players did really well today. They played to the kind of the directions where we asked them to, and even the two mid laners switching around between games and just adjusting well and adapting to what they needed to do was really something to congratulate them for. And heading into the games, we were talking about Yukal perhaps making his entrance, and thought it would have been a very tough one to try to make his games count on this one. Or are you the one that was telling him to scream out to get enthusiasm on? I mean, Yukao is a very mature player, you know, disregarding his age, and really doesn't really need the kind of fake encouragement for him to get him pumped up. He's a player that he's going to be fine on his own and independently. He's going to be a very good part of the team. And we did see a little bit of mistakes coming in, going through the wall, and maybe that was a kind of an indication of his rookie status. Yeah, I knew that. I thought that I had teleport, so I told him to go in aggressively. So, you know, without that context, it might have seemed like it was just a rookie mistake, but it was definitely my part for telling him to go in on that one. So, didn't see my timer on the teleport. It really was chaotic right here, and we were trying to be adaptive as much as we can, trying to make the right plays each time. And it was really tough for all of us throughout this play. And Yukao did wonderfully. Yeah, we couldn't ask more out of him. And so this is what he was talking about when Smeb went back, saying he thought he had teleport right here. He thought he was going home now, and now this is where Smeb tells him to go back in. Well, I mean, let's technically say that I didn't tell him to go in, but we definitely gave the indication. In the end, he looked really bad at the end. We talk about these kind of debated picks, debated pings that we give out, and kind of well, I think that's what Smeb gave out to his teammate right there.
Direct translation. Definitely said debated.
And what do you think when you saw that play? I thought Yukao was a little more aggressive than we thought. I don't know why he suddenly got so hyper about everything. I think he was just really pumped up by the telecom from the screen that we saw in the backstage. And we have a lot of records for you, Smeb. I'm just going in, and from that kind of status that you're at a veteran status, how do you view Yukao as kind of the new player coming in? I never thought that I was older when it came to being a professional player, but I saw the age gap between me and Yukao, and definitely there is a kind of a realization that I'm definitely up there in age. First game, Gnar, and putting out spectacular plays back and forth, and we thought that it really just shut them down time after time. And I think this was really near the end when the key play did come forth. And Ryze was really trying to get me down, and I had to just kind of rotate around, and my allies tried to fend for the cover, tried to make sure I was alive for most of these parts. What I wanted to ask here is that, of course, this applies to all split pushers, but Gnar can be very diverse in the way you kind of use it as a split push. We try to kind of plan that out before we do go into a match when we do pick out Gnar in a composition, and if we feel like, you know, even if picking the same Gnar, if we need a little more team fight kind of support, I try to kind of fit in a little bit more flexible into how my roles can be. After getting Game 1 victory, going into Game 2, we thought that... And wasn't there something that you wanted to reflect back on, kind of the mistakes that you might have made in Game 1 as a coach? I knew that I was going to get an interview today, so you know, I tried to make sure I looked good, did my hair and all that thing, but coming in, yeah, I still have to answer your question about the game itself, but after Game 1, and I knew that, you know, previously that, you know, back in OGN, what's called On Game Net, you know, I was really focused on trying to get the interview right, and you know, I'm back again. I really want to just congratulate all the players for doing well. I did kind of congratulate Smeb in the back while I wasn't back in the stage, so really not much complaints when it came to the performance they did. And also Yukao for showing up in this really big pressure moment and doing well. He really did overcome it and really went toe-to-toe with FLICKR, and that's something to really congratulate him for. And you did bring out Pawn in Game 2. And how is he right now? I think Pawn is not really about his physical status, but I think it's a little bit of a psychological thing that we have to kind of care him for, to make sure that we're trying to make a little bit of utility for Yukao to play his best as well. So trying to be flexible with both players. And of course, this is the Telecom one. There should have been a lot of players right now, going up against Jax with the Camille. It is a pressuring matchup, and I know that my allies can back me out to kind of relieve that pressure just a little bit. And I knew that I just kind of trusted Score would do his part to kind of take away the pressure from me a little bit. Hey, I mean, we talk about your Camille in particular, that you throw and kind of make all these kind of silly plays sometimes with the Camille, but what would you like to say to that, Coach? And let's go back to last year just a little bit, because anytime he hovered over the Camille, we start kind of sweating and try to kind of be nervous about what that would mean, but and as time went on, those little mistakes that you're talking about, they have been limited, and they have kind of calmed down to the fact that we don't really worry about that much anymore. And you did pick up a win with the Camille. And let's go over to game 2 for a little bit, because there's a lot of highlight that we can be showing. And I think we can look over some of it here. And it really was a kind of a chase to the end. And this was an incredible prediction right there with the Jax jump. The only thing I was thinking about at the time was like my skill actually wouldn't be able to land to the other side of the wall. So that's the only thing I was thinking about. I wasn't really thinking about chasing after Jax. I was just worried about whether that would go. But I think my internal calculations of my brain kind of took care of me for them there. I didn't have to worry that much after all. I think even if I didn't go over the wall, I think I still could have caught off Camille. Maybe not in the coolest of fashion, but still would have been able to chase him. And right now, Tap Jungle, how are you guys feeling? Right now, he's on the prime of his age in terms of numbers, but he's really just flying all over the field, and something that really I'm really happy about. Score's doing great, and it's just really, it's a lot of trust and faith in him as a kind of a supporting duo with the top and jungle. And we actually thought that Mata would have been a potential MVP, and with that Braum putting out that shield, putting out all the defense against kind of the damage that was coming in. And really was a kind of a back and forth kind of benefit for you guys, putting out the top lane and also the bot lane. Were you looking at the bot lane here? I felt like I was gonna cancel the TP in midway, but Jax kind of canceled it for me, so I didn't have to worry too much about that, and just had to kind of just wait it out and got the kill, easy kill from there. And a lot of fans do say that KT back then, back then it was about KT having a lot of individual very skilled players, but as a team it hasn't really melded together for the time that has been allotted. I think teamfight is kind of the biggest improvement of KT over the period, and something that we really know our specific roles between each player, and even the kind of the real athletes, they always have these off-season training, and we had our exactly same thing during the winter, and we tried to get ourselves better in that form. I think that paid off. Let's talk about make some comparisons. You're talking about some fitness regimes. You obviously my body, it really isn't fit to the kind of fitness, the word quote unquote you're talking about, but with Coach, if you have another MVP, who would you pick? Of course, Smeb gets the MVP, but who else would you give MVP to? Well, I mean, Smeb is always an MVP for me, but I like to go with Pawn this time around. And And I think that where I'm most proud of my players is when when they can overcome kind of the psychological and kind of the mental hardships that when a player goes through. When you can overcome it, that really gives me a lot of pride in if in my players, and Pawn was a player to do that. And right now, Deft has been kind of on fire, hitting #1 in solo queue right now. I mean, Deft has been kind of racking up all the MVP points and getting #1 in solo queue. He thinks he's really good for some reason, and he's being silly, and it's just something about him. We need to get a little bit of repair onto his head to make sure he realizes the truth. Anything you'd like to say?
왜 바텀을 되게 좀 무시하는 것 같아요. 오늘 보시면 알겠지만 약간 그 경기의 밸런스를 맞추기 위해서
And we try to make the balance even.
밸런스 있는 그
So we tried to get a little bit of acne here and there just to get the balance straight. So we can't get him a little bit forward. We have to track him back a little bit with an acne. So that was a kind of a that was supposed to be a joke coming from the coach, and obviously he's nobody's laughing. Of course, with Smeb, getting a very, very good win for you guys, and coming in at second place. And you do have a lot of games that you could become #1 eventually of LCK. And right now, going into the KSV match, that is the next match. Anything to say? We're really just relieved that we ended this SKT match in a positive way, and we do have a lot of important matches that are coming up, so we're gonna just work hard to make sure that we really have the best hopes in getting the #1 spot in LCK. Thank you very much. Coach, anything you'd like to add on to that? We have our head coach, and we are just his pawns, basically, just following in his lead, and we're gonna follow in his leadership. And everybody is really working really hard in multiple aspects, and we have kind of a renewal and a revision to our system in the way we run our team. And I think something that I really want to take this position and really thank the head coach for something that I'm personally learning a lot from him as a coach. And especially with the players when they can't lose concentration in times like this, and we really admire him for all the work that he does. So a lot of shout-outs from each of these player and coaches alike, and as KT Rolster does pick up a 2-0 win in this telecom war, and we're going to throw it back to you guys for the rest of the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Joel, for the translation, as always. Always love when Smeb is picking on his teammates. Did it with Prey, constantly back on the Rocks Tigers, now picking on Deft, even though he's #1 in Challenger.
Yeah, really nice translating there by Joel as well. Hard job when there's so much nuance going on with the coaches coming in and writing a different kind of dimension to the translation. So thank you very much there, Joel, as KT Rolster. Very well-deserved victory. Both games going 38 minutes. The second game was an excellence of execution game, and the first one was a bit of a macro strangling, and now you find SKT, sure, one match behind, but they are also one match furthermore played. Yeah. The -4 game score will count against them as well in multiple different ways. Definitely going to be quite the mountain for SKT to climb, and that's just to make it to the gauntlet. Guarantees are not there for SKT, but I can guarantee you it's going to be a fun second series. FLICKR Freak's the final team to debut on patch 8.4. I've been looking at Spirit's solo queue. He's loving the volley bear, so maybe the new stuff is coming out.
Might be able to get that, so yeah, I mean, again, what wonderful day here for League of Legends. Telecom War out of the way. KT Rolster are going to be feeling good about that, but we can feel good as we look forward to Rocks Tigers versus FLICKR. We're going to have a bit of a long break. In about 30 minutes, 40 minutes until we have that game up for you, so go ahead and set an alarm. We'll see you guys right back here for more LCK.
trust that you're able, and you just might fly.
Coming up next, a Freak of Freaks, Rocks Tigers, beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.